Ta-da.
Sorry. Hey everybody, how ya doing? I imagine that we're not going to have very many people on tonight. It's the end of the day and most people are done with their work week. But I am here to talk to you, answer questions that you guys may have, and actually, yeah, we're going to talk about some things, okay? In case you missed last week, a new law takes effect on July 1st regarding security deposits. And what that law says is pretty much that if a landlord owns more than two residential dwellings, they can't ask for more than 1 month's rent as a security deposit. And that starts on July 1st next year. Okay. So if you missed that one, I want to make sure that you have that. This is a time we're doing an evening class, so usually they're a lot more laid back, less questions, um, and you guys just really get the opportunity to pick my brain. Or how do I say this? Most of our 9 to 5ers don't join an evening class because they're just dealing with home life. And I completely and totally get it. But every once in a while, I really like to throw the evening ones in so that everybody can get their questions answered and everything addressed that they want to. So make sure that you got your questions lined up for tonight because you're not going to want to miss firing them off at me. Okay. All right. I see we have a couple more people joining us. Hello, hello. Hi, everybody. Not a lot in tonight, which is fine. We got somebody that's having trouble, so they're coming and going. Does anybody have anything that they want to talk about? Oh, where did I go? I lost myself. There we are. I found me. Does anybody have anything that they want to talk about? Any questions they want answered, things of that nature? Or are we just going to go for educational issues? Because I got some, I got some I want to throw at you guys. Anybody have a question? Just let me know. Type it in the bottom. Can you guys hear me okay? See me okay? Let me know you're out there and that everybody is doing well. So we talked briefly about the new law that takes effect on July 1st regarding security deposits that we're only going to be able to take 1 month's rent as a deposit as a maximum. Thank you, Jessica. So 1 month's rent as a maximum that starts on July 1st of 2024. So starting July 1st, 2024, it doesn't matter if it's a fully furnished unit. It doesn't matter if they have pets. You cannot collect an extra deposit starting then unless you own less than two residential dwellings, I think is what the rules said. So make sure you guys are protecting yourselves and doing what you're supposed to there. And watch out because I've learned something as I get older. Time comes really quick. Time passes really quick. Okay. So with that said, time comes and goes so quickly. And we're already looking at Thanksgiving this month. So definitely time is coming. It also happens to be my birthday. So I feel like I'm getting older, which I am, but hey, nobody ever wants to admit that. But that's the problem I have with time tonight as I sit and think about it is, yeah, that's knocking on my door too. All right, so we have security deposit maximum at 1 month's rent starting July 1st next year. So don't forget to take that off your calendar. We're seeing a lot more, how do I say this to you guys? I'm seeing a lot more legal counsel, a lot of the attorneys being much more reserved when they're going to battle in LA, in LA City, in LA County. I see that they're more reserved. I think is the best way that I could explain that to you. For things that in other areas like Riverside, as an example, or San Bernardino, where we don't have as many restrictions for tenants against landlords. And whereas in LA City, LA County, you have quite a bit more of that. Um, it's like they're so caught up in all these changing rules and regulations, you're consistently having to remind them of one thing, especially if you're there for non-payment of rent and you've accepted rent payments throughout the eviction process. So my client tells me, not my client, the client of the firm, man, I had to remind the attorney that showed up twice. I had to remind the judge twice. It's like I got to remind everybody what the rules are. I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, I just did an eviction for non-payment of rent in Riverside. And I was like, yeah. She goes, everybody panicked and freaked out when I told them I accepted rental payments throughout the entire process. And I'm like, oh, she goes, see, you're doing it too. I'm like, you can't accept rent. She goes, this is commercial. How come I keep having to tell everybody this isn't residential? It's commercial. And I just started laughing so hard because all of our heads are so full of what rules are coming at us, what rules just changed, what municipality just added something to theirs that we missed 2 weeks ago or wasn't there 6 months ago. I mean, it's this evolution ball of a snollygoster that's just spinning out of control like a hurricane, if you will. And we're trying to grab a hold of all those pieces, retain them, remember them, and so forth. So when something very simple happens like a commercial eviction comes through and the landlord says I've been accepting partial payments the entire time, and you're like, oh no, you got to keep reminding yourself this isn't residential, it's commercial, and they can do that there. So please don't get upset if you find yourself reminding. And I try to tell the people that call in, you have something different than the normal. And what I mean by the normal is the average thing that's going on right now is evictions in residential dwellings. And you're going to have to keep telling people, but this is a condominium. Condominiums have separate rules. Okay. So it's interesting as the new California, the new LA County evolves, it's interesting how we have to keep reminding people of the simplest things and what those rules are sometimes because it stops us dead in our tracks. So please bear with me if you're calling me about a condo and I say, oh, no, 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 you can't do that. You're going to have to keep reminding your attorney, the judge, your legal counsel, whomever, but this is a condo, but this is a commercial building. Oh, okay, never mind. And I try to tell them that right at the beginning. And I feel so bad for you guys, but I've lived through part of that. So now I understand. You just got to keep reminding whomever you're speaking with, whether it be a judge, a jury, your legal counsel, opposing counsel. This is commercial, not residential. This is a condo. It's separately alienable. So it doesn't apply to some of these rules. And God love condominium complexes, you guys, but whoever put alphabets in condos, they should have numbers, not alphabet letters in condominiums. It confuses the heck out of people like me. I automatically want to assume it's not a condo, it's an apartment because it says C, Unit C, Unit D. I didn't know. Okay, can't change the way HOAs think and how they set up their design with building when they get all that going. But if I could put in my 2 cents, I think that condominiums should not be allowed to use alphabet letters to identify units. That's just my blonde brain and how I think. All right. Does anybody have anything? I see something. Yes, we can see and hear you. Thank you. I am here. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? Some concerns they're interested in addressing? I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm trying to be helpful. I saw something the other day and I felt so bad for the owner. And it was something very simple. That something should be removed off of a notice if it's not implied. And I get that because in the last 8 months, maybe 6, let's even go back 6, your 3-day notice to pay rent or quit has changed dramatically. Dramatically. It's changed. First, you guys had to put in the verbiage regarding 3 days, not counting weekends, holidays, judicial holidays, that verbiage. Then you guys had to go back if you were in LA City and put how many bedrooms were on the unit. That had to be on the notice. I mean, it's like every time I turn around, every 3 months or so, we're having to change a 3-day notice. And then the CARES Act notice, that notice that's out if you have federal funds touching you, that's the notice you have to use. And it's not a 3-day to pay rent, it's a 30-day to pay rent. And that doesn't count weekends or holidays or judicial holidays. So please don't get upset when you send a 3-day notice over to your legal counsel and they tell you, no, this won't work in court because take note of the change, make sure everybody else knows the change. These things are changing so rapidly. It is extremely difficult to keep up with all of it. It's just, yeah, I can imagine. All right. Anything else anybody wants to talk about today?
Patty,
Hi.
I just wanted, I was looking up with the security deposit 1 month, and I just wanted to read what I saw online for clarification. It says
Okay, sure.
you must hold the property as a natural person, a limited liability company, or a family trust, and they must own no more than 2 residential rental properties that collectively include no more than 4 dwelling units offered for rent.
Correct. So what they're talking about is two
So if you,
duplexes.
well, so wait a minute. So if you have a fourplex and a single family, but you are living in one of the units in the fourplex, that's 3 plus the single family. So you should qualify, I would think.
I would think so too.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
No problem. I would think so too. And let's flip that a bit. If you lived in the single family, and I'm just talking out loud, and you
Mm-hmm.
had 4 rental units, that would still make you qualify, yes?
Yes,
There you go.
that's my understanding. Yeah, that's
Mine
my
too.
understanding.
I can ask an attorney for clarity. Oh my
Mhm.
God. Can you guys tell it's the end of my day? I should be putting my pajamas on right now. But for any of you that have ever called me after hours or on the weekends, you know, sometimes, and when you call me at night, I sound a little groggly, but it's just because I've been talking all day. I'm tired of it. Believe it or not, there has to be an end. Um, Other things that I see going on is legal counsel being extremely reserved. And here's a great example of that. We all read about the CARES Act, right? We know that in the event that you have federal funding touching your property, meaning the tenant has Section 8 VASH, or on the landlord side with a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac loan, makes you subject to the CARES Act. If federal funds touch your property from either direction, tenant or landlord, okay, you are subject to California CARES Act, which means you must give your tenant a 30-day notice to pay rent or quit. And those 30 days does not count weekends or holidays, and it has to have the CARES Act verbiage on the notice. So this is really nice to know now and not down the road, because it's not 30 days. It's more like 45 because you can't count weekends and you can't count holidays. So with that said, that 30-day notice is a nightmare. It's not something you want to get wrong, because if you missed crossing a T or dotting an I, it's a long time to wait to have to do a new notice. It's kind of like when you do a 60-day and you didn't do it right and you have to give another 60 days. Same concept. So I beg you, please, if you are filling out a notice, specifically a notice that is for longevity, meaning time, a 30-day notice to pay rent or quit, a 60-day notice to vacate, something along those lines, some kind of a 90-day notice. Please send it to your legal counsel. Have them double check it, triple check it. Send it to Uncle Sam if he's a, you know what I mean? Send it to anybody. And I don't mean Uncle Sam like the IRS. I mean your Uncle Sam, your Uncle Sandra, whoever. Get more eyes on that document to make sure that it's proper before you waste the time. I tell you guys this all the time. The two most expensive things in this industry are time and money. Time and money. And we don't want to waste either one, okay? Not a chance. All right. Anybody else have anything that they want to chit chat about tonight? Watch the municipalities because they're doing some weird things here and there.
One quick question, Patty. When you're paying
Sure.
the interest for the on the security deposit in Larso,
Mhm.
I didn't see any form through AGLA. Is there something like a form to fill out, or you just send the check and just send them a note saying this is what it's for, or what?
You have options. I just had this sitting on the edge of my desk, so I had the process and procedure, and I want to look at it before I answer you completely. But I believe when you're crediting back, you have two options, and Larso prefers that you send a check to the tenant. I always suggest sending a personal check just because you can trace it easy, right through your bank account to see if they cashed it or not. And then you have that record.
Mhm.
That way, if you're ever questioned on if you did do those annual SCEP deposit refunds, that you did them properly. FYI, some municipalities are looking at passing that through. What does that
Really?
mean in English? They're
Mhm.
talking about not doing that just in Larso anymore.
Mm.
That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to remember the municipality that was talking about it. It hasn't passed. Nobody panic. Who was talking about doing it? It'll come to me and I'll write it down and then I'll remember. I remember a lot of things, you guys. I learned if I write it down, I remember it entirely. It's scary.
So if I just send a check and in the memo I put what it is, you think that's enough?
Yeah, interest on security deposit. It's
Okay.
exactly what it is. And then I usually give the calculation, the deposit divided by or times however much equals this much. I usually write that in the area so they can do the math and check it themselves.
Okay. Thank you.
That way there's no question. And what I just taught you, do that on your dispositions of security deposit too. Wait, what, Patty say? Wait, what? When you're prorating the rent when the tenant moves out and you're charging I'm gonna do an easy one, okay? Because hey, Blondie over here, end of the day, I always use the rent of $1,000. Why do I use the rent of $1,000? It's easy, okay? The daily damages is $33.33. Okay, so if
Mhm.
you're only charging for 3 days, we can all do the math very quickly and know that it's $99.99.
99.99 cents. Mhm.
Right. So it's very easy to calculate and figure out. When you charge them those 3 days and you write rent for 3 days, I always put the breakdown of the daily rent. So I would put $1,000 divided by 30 days equals $33.33. And then I put
Thank you.
times 3 days equals $99.99. So I put the math on my
Mhm.
dispo.
Mhm.
Okay. I learned that a long time ago. And every time I've done that, a judge has always looked at it, but never had to grab his calculator.
Mhm.
So I like it for that reason. If you
Mhm.
can help the judge out and they know you do it on a 30-day, you're doing just fine.
Mhm.
So remember that breakdown because I use it in a lot of places. I use it on a disposition, and I strongly suggest that you break down how you came up with the daily amount, also, not just the daily amount.
If you have
So
a
that was my.
tenant, yeah. If you have a tenant that just got married, they've been in the property uh over a little over a year. Um, if she changes her name legally, Do I
Uh-huh.
just request like her new driver's license or something, or do I have to do anything else?
Um, did she come to you and say I got married? Tell me what she did. She
Well,
came to you and says I got married.
yeah, I knew they were getting married. I knew that they were getting married. They just got back from their honeymoon, and
Okay. So
I
when they pay the rent this month, ask her how you should be addressing her going forward. Did she take his name?
Mhm,
It's
okay.
that simple. How should I address you going forward? Did you take his name?
Hmm. Okay.
It's a
And
simple question. It's easy.
yeah.
And honestly, if you know she got married and she had her honeymoon, some people you can ask, I need to see your marriage certificate so I can add your new husband and or wife, whomever we're discussing, even same sex. I don't discriminate, you guys, to the contract. So I need to see your
Yeah.
marriage.
No, they were both
Um,
on the contract. They were
I
both
got
on.
you. I got you, but let me explain it in a different way, okay? Hi, Arlene.
Mhm.
So my new girlfriend April, who I see just got on here. Hello, April. We got married and we really didn't because she's already married to somebody else and I'm not trying to cause a problem here. Okay, I'm just trying to give you an example. Um, but we want to move in or we oh here, let me let April back in if we're gonna talk about her. We should let her back in. April, we're talking about you. It's all good things, okay? I'm using you with an example. She's like, "Oh God, Patty, what are you doing to me?" Um, I live in your apartment. I live by myself. I tell you, my new girlfriend, April, wants to move in. You run her credit, you screen her, and you tell me she's not qualified. She can't move in here. Okay. You with me?
Mhm.
Okay. A month later, I show up and to pay my rent, and I tell you, oh, by the way, I got married last week. April's my new wife. What do you say to me, Arlene?
Congratulations.
Good girl. You guys, we can't discriminate against them if they get married. If they're married, they are one in the same. If they
Mhm.
are not married, you have a little bit more leeway. Okay.
Mhm.
You don't have to let an unqualified boyfriend, girlfriend move in. But if they're underqualified as a husband or a wife, you cannot discriminate against marital status. Simply said. And I've had people that literally went out and got married just so they could move them in and make me mad. You know what I said to them? Congratulations.
Mhm.
Just like Queen said to me. So you guys remember that, okay? Because you can be, they're not moving in here, but the second they show you a marriage license, congratulations,
Mhm.
okay? Because you cannot stop them.
Right, but if they were
All right.
both,
Anybody?
yeah, they were both on the
If
contract. They both,
you're,
they,
that's why I said just
no, no,
ask her
no.
how you address her going forward. If they're both on the contract prior to them getting married and now they are married, you just want to know if she took his name or not so you can address further documents properly. That's all.
So I don't need a driver's license or anything with a change of the name.
Well, you could ask for a copy of the marriage certificate. That's going to do enough. You could tell her
Oh,
when you get your new driver's license, I need to get a copy of it.
yeah, that's what I
So that
did.
I
I
have it
said to
on
her,
so that I have it on file. I don't see a problem with that. It's you're not
okay,
discriminating in any way, so that I can think of. So you're fine.
okay, thanks.
My biggest thing is don't discriminate, especially in LA.
But Patty, you can charge for additional occupant.
Maybe not.
But
Maybe not.
explain,
I'm
Patty.
teaching I'm teaching a class with Agla on the 14th of this month called I'm gonna have to walk through my house and go get the thing. Great ideas that just don't work. Okay? And let me explain. You are governed by rent control. Yes or no? Answer.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. There was the yes. Okay. So, does rent control allow you to do a rent increase in the middle of the year because they moved somebody else in?
Want to hear no?
You
Rent-
hear me now.
Only once a year rent increase, no?
No, see, you guys are all going, I understand. Other things that we used to be able to do that you just can't do anymore, pet rent, month-to-month fees, additional occupant fees, those are all going to the wayside. You guys got to be careful that you're not charging anything else but their annual rent increase. That's how easy we get in trouble. Okay. And that's the class I'm doing with AGLA on the 14th. But we got to be cautious with this stuff. We got to really think about it. And those of us that go, oh, I'm fine. I don't have that problem. I just have AB 1482. You're capped too. Oh, paying attention? You are capped too. With AB 1482, you could be limited to your annual rent increase based on what the CPI is. So if you're going to throw in an additional occupant fee, you could be doing an illegal rent increase. You need to think about that. We got to be cautious moving forward. I hope that makes sense to you guys, but there's a lot of things we're just not going to be able to charge for anymore, or we're going to have to be very creative. And yes, we have people being very creative. A lot of people in LA, as you guys all well know, and I'm sure Arlene can vouch for me, is a lot of you guys put your parking on a commercial contract and not under the rental agreement so that it's not subject to the stabilization rules. So a lot of people do that. They rent their parking spaces or their garage spaces separately from the rental agreement. Okay. I don't see that as being price gouging because they're two separate entities. But you got to watch out when you have a rental agreement, the extra charges that are on there. Pet rent is going to be going away to the waste. So that's done and over with if you're governed by any kind of rent control. Additional occupant fees, month-to-month fees. Those were fun while they lasted, but you can't do them anymore. No. And
So
I know for
excuse me, are you not grandfathered in? If you've been,
Arlene,
I'm sorry,
Arlene,
if you've been, if you've been charging a pet fee, are you grandfathered in?
I can't answer that. You poor thing. She's on the verge of sneezing, you guys, or coughing or something.
Yeah.
Are you still alive?
I am, barely.
Hey, leave it to one of my meetings to take your breath away, right?
Absolutely.
I can't answer that. And the reason I can't answer that is I don't know if it would be considered base rent. I don't know. That is something you need to talk to your legal counsel about. Because what you're asking me for is about right here on my payometer. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel comfortable. I want to tell you, no, you're not grandfathered in because that's not your base rent. You're charging rent for a pet. What happens when the pet dies?
Mm-hmm. So basically, when next year in February, when we want to do a rent increase, I'll go back to the
You need
base
to
rent and do the increase and remove the pet fee.
That's what I would
Yeah.
do. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Additional occupant fees, pet fees, month-to-month fees. So get this. In corporate America, we came up with this plan, and I mean we as us landlords and in general, where if the tenant wouldn't sign the new 1-year contract, we would charge them a fee monthly, like $200 or $300 to be on a month to month instead of having that 1-year term. Yeah, we were thinking outside of the building on that one. Not allowed anymore. No, 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 no. Look at it this way. If all of a sudden they're getting a $300 fine, did you just go over 5% plus a CPI? You're a multifamily property. I can almost guarantee you are governed by that. The only thing that would set you free would be how old your building is.
So Patty,
So yeah, yes.
So I manage my own. I just have two rental properties, but I have long-term tenants. So the goal, I mean, for like 10 years now, and in that lease, there was like, I'll charge for anybody that stays a night more than all those charges. Should I be updating the lease then, or because I don't touch it?
Yeah, because look at it this way. If a bunch of stuff is in your lease contract and it's not legal, okay, so you're not enforcing it, do you still want a judge to look at you and wonder why you have a bunch of illegal stuff in your contract?
Okay. And where can I get, I am no longer part of AGLA, but I am part of the apartment AOA, but they don't have the same forms as AGLA. Where, so,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying to me. I hear you. And you know what? I agree with you. The diversity between the two associations is much different, huh?
yeah, the AGLA were
Yeah,
better.
I completely and totally agree. And when you look at AGLA, they only cover a small area.
Yeah,
If you look at a bigger apartment association, and I don't mean that AGLA covers a small area, hear me out, okay? Because
yeah.
they don't. They cover San Bernardino County, all of Los Angeles County, and Ventura County. So they're probably one of the biggest associations, I know they are, that we have in Southern California because they cover 3 counties and one of them's really big. you know? So with that said, what I mean is when you take it a step up and deal with a statewide apartment agency like the California Apartment Association, the CAA, their documents are insane, but they have everything that you could imagine, even unruly gathering ordinances in the city of Fontana is in their list. Even all the stuff that happens in Sacramento and San Francisco and all the strict rules that they have in Northern California. Their apartment association has the document you need for all those individual cities. It's insane. So when you're dealing with apartment associations, I completely and totally understand what you're saying because they're like night and day. They really are. And when you keep going up the ladder, just so you know, and deal with like one that covers the entire state of California, the amount of notices that you have there is just inundating. No joke. But I hear you.
Okay, I'll check that one out then. Thank you.
CAA update their documents consistently. Yep, they do. They sure do. Proposed rent increase, extension, and rent freeze. Yep, I know. And I know. So if nobody else knows about this, LA City is proposing to extend the rent freeze that is currently in place. Wait, what, Patty? You know how LA City hasn't been able to raise their rent all of COVID, and they're not allowed to until January 31st of 2024 after that date. So February 1, and now they're talking about extending it to August while they implement a new formula for figuring out the allotted increased amount. Wait, Patty, what are you talking about? What are you saying? The city of Los Angeles is not happy with the amount of rent increase that we're allowed to do. Mind you, we have not been able to raise rents in the city of Los Angeles since COVID hit. So March of 2020, we have not had an increase. And now they want to extend it into August. For what? The only thing we're allowed to increase by is the CPI. Ah, isn't it great for the city of Los Angeles to have a rent freeze in place during the highest CPI in the last freaking 10 years? Just my luck. right? And now they want to change the way that the increase is calculated. They're going to make it lower than what it is now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. LA City is a metropolis full of rental properties, full of tenants. It's a metropolis. So they're going to make all the laws protecting who? Not us. I've learned something else. I learned that all the rent control stuff seems to be hitting across the coastal counties, LA County, Orange County, San Diego County. They run along the coast. They're metropolises because they all have international airports. Okay. And then the statewide rent control, AB 1482, threw something at us on August 1st this year in the Inland Empire area. Oh, right in that hub around Ontario. Wait, what's Patty saying? Right around the international airport, we're now governed and not allowed to raise rents ever if you're governed by AB 1482 over 9.6%. We can't even do the 10%. Why? Think about Ontario really quick. I don't know if you've been there lately or utilized that airport, but the surrounding area has grown tremendously. There's apartments everywhere, all up and down the sides of the freeway, all up and down Haven Boulevard. It's apartment community after apartment community after apartment community. Oh, it's near an international airport. There's all kinds of warehouse jobs there. Oh. Hey, Patty, do you think that more rent control goes around international airports? Something to think about. I mean, no, I don't have the answer. I don't know where rent control is going next or where it's going to come out of. But I do kind of see a pattern. Just saying. Just saying. All right. Anybody have anything else? Anything you guys want to talk about?
So I have a tenant that moved his daughter and a little kid in San Bernardino. And I said, okay, I wanted to be not too rough. So I increased the rent by $150. Is that something illegal I did?
Is it in a house or is it an apartment?
Apartment,
Were they in a lease term or on a month to month?
month to month. And about a couple of months ago, they did receive the annual rent increase.
And was the annual rent increase at 9.6?
Yes, it was. Yes.
I'm going to be cautious here and say, ask your legal counsel.
All right.
Okay. And I'm trying to help you guys understand how the courts are looking at it. But thank you for asking the question because you know what it tells me? It tells me you were paying attention and that it clicked for something you did. And that's all I'm trying to do is get you guys thinking about the things that you're doing and making sure we're all following the rules. Okay?
Thanks, Patty.
No problem. No problem. Thank you. Thank you, Arlene. Does anybody have anything else? I don't want to keep you guys all evening. I'm sure there's something wonderful on TV. And yes, April, they do. CAA does update their documents tremendously. Did everybody see that new relocation fee out of the city of Pasadena for $32,000? I almost threw up in my mouth. Jesus. And I saw this. They passed a new law and I missed it. I did. It says, and I gotta find it because you guys will be like, what the what? It now says that you as a landlord can sell your ADU like a condominium. You know how a condo sells, but you're just buying the condo? Right? You guys with me? They passed a law that you can sell your tenant the ADU you built on the building. See, Arlene saw it too. Arlene saw it too. You can sell them the ADU like a condo. What? What in the what? Pretty soon they're going to tell us landlords can do the mortgage financing for the sale purchase of this condo. You watch. I got nothing. I got nothing. I got nothing.
Patty, an ADU requires you to have a new property tax parcel number or no? When you do an ADU, they create a new parcel number for property taxes?
I can't answer that because each municipality is probably different on how they handle it, but you better believe you're going to be taxed on the additional unit and you have to go through all the proper channels because if you don't have a certificate of occupancy, you legally cannot collect rent.
But the reason I'm asking you, if you sell that ADU, it must have a tax number for the new buyer to pay his
I
tax.
completely and totally agree. So with this new law, I'm sure they're conjuring up the new process and procedure. I just was dumbfounded by it. I mean, let me talk to you out loud about what my thinking is, okay? I have a single family house, okay? I don't rent out the garage. The tenants move out, so I have a vacant property. So now I can do whatever I want with it. So I rent the house, but I don't rent the garage, and I'm building an ADU, okay? I build the ADU in the back of the property. Now, the second I get a certificate of occupancy on the ADU, that house that's been sitting there falls under statewide rent control because it's older than 15 years. But my ADU is going to be exempt for 15 years. Okay? Just follow me along. So now I'm 15 years in and one day, so I have rent control on both. But now I sold the ADU and I just have the house. So I don't have any rent control. Isn't that bizarre? Isn't that bizarre? I'm just like, wait, what? And I always thought, and get inside Widget's brain really quick, okay? I always thought it would be really cool to have like a trailer park, and hear me out, not of mobile homes, but of tiny homes. Okay, like get a piece of property somewhere, and instead of having trailer spaces with a unit number marked, you build a tiny home, and then you have a community of these tiny homes that you can have as rentals. Or, I mean, it would be, hey, ding. If you're paying attention, this might make sense financially. But I just think it would be neat to have a whole community of them because some of these new tiny homes they're building are gorgeous. And I'm a little person, so that might be nice for me. Just saying. So yeah, it might be the new thing is instead of having condo complexes, we might have tiny home complexes because they can sell each tiny home just like a condo and still run the HOA. Interesting thought. Interesting thought. And I got questions too. I don't know if you guys have driven, through an old neighborhood you haven't been through in a long time. And let's face it, that's anywhere in California, Southern California. The neighborhoods have changed so much. Some of the old houses are gone and they're replaced with apartment buildings. It may only be a fourplex or a sixplex, but still, there was a nice house there and now it's an apartment. And I see so much more of that when you go, oh, I haven't been down this road in a long time. Let's go this way. You go down that way and you're like, wow, wow. And you know that feeling, if you build it, they'll come? Man, we are like houses upon apartments upon condos upon houses. I mean, it's just crazy. I got a feeling that our state might look like New York soon with just Central Park going down the middle, you know? All right, hang on real quick, you guys. Give me 2 seconds. Really quickly. So I muted myself and then I couldn't figure out how to unmute myself. And now I'm getting harassed by my dog. I'm sorry, you guys. Blue, go away. Blue, go away. Can you shut my door? Thank you. I'm sorry, you guys. My dog would have got up my face and started licking me all over the place, and you guys just would have laughed. So we got her out of here. Thank you. All right. Anybody else have anything that they want to talk about?
Just one last question, Patty. Do you think there is a chance one day California will be a Republican at all?
I can't answer that. I don't even know. I think that the reality is at this point, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, we're all fed up. Fair enough? I mean, I don't know what the majority is. I do know that I am under the understanding that the people that are coming into our country are getting information on how to vote Democratic. Does that answer your question, kind of? I hope we get a new governor. I hope. Newsom hasn't done us any favors as landlords, let's face it. And when we start looking at some of these laws the municipalities are passing, let me give you an example, okay? At the city of Pasadena, I want to say there's a panel of 8 to 10 people that come up with the ordinance for rent control and the amount of relocation fee of $32,000. 8 of those 10 people on that board are tenants themselves. Understand? The writing's on the wall. What we need to do is push home ownership and not raise the rates of mortgage rates and make it easier for people to purchase so that we can offset these numbers, because it's a nightmare. I mean, has anybody bought anything lately or had anybody that bought anything lately? Last I heard they needed a 740 FICO score. Is that still the case? I haven't checked into lending. It's not something I follow. Yeah, I know I'm a broker. I should know everything, but I don't. Stay in your lane. I just wondered what the minimum FICO score is, how much money you have to make if that's all changed, because I know the interest rate on the mortgages went up considerably. And I say considerably because my mortgages are mostly, they're all under 5%. I have 2 under 3%. So, I mean, let me say this to you guys, okay? And if you happen to be a husband and your wife is the shopper in the family, give her a job. When it is time to refinance, when it is time to purchase, when it is time to do something, I always tell, go find the deal. Go find the best deal for you. Okay. So if you need to refinance and your spouse happens to be a shopper, have them go shop for the best deal. Okay. If you're spending your money, you're shopping for the best deal, right? So if you're refinancing, you just don't want to refinance with Joe Blow. If this is something you need to do to pull out equity or do something along those lines, go shopping for the best interest rate, the least amount of loan points, blah, 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 blah. It's like when you can tell your bestie, hey, go find the best insurance policy that gives us the most coverage for the least amount of money. We don't just call an insurance company and go, yeah, that's the one I'm taking. Whichever one you recommend. Yeah, we're going with them. No, go shopping. Just shop for how you're going to spend your money. Ah, makes sense. Okay, hold on. We got somebody else asking. Do you have a persuasive way to encourage a longtime tenant to sign a new rental agreement? Linda, what city? What county? I need to know. The reason I say that is some municipalities require that you offer your tenant a new lease. And if they don't sign the new lease, you can terminate their tenancy. I believe that city of Los Angeles. I could be wrong. I'm going to have to look, but I kind of need to know where you are based on how things are looked at. Okay? Because let me say this. Things looked at in LA County and things looked at in San Bernardino County when you get into court are completely different sometimes. The way the judges rule there isn't the way they rule everywhere. Make sense? So it kind of helps me know if I know what city you're talking about. Unincorporated LA County. Be cautious. Be very, very cautious, dear. Yeah, no. Landlord, and I forgot what they call it because I call it something else, and I can't say on here what I call it because it's inappropriate. Even for this hour of the evening, it's inappropriate. It's the new retaliatory law. Anybody know what the acronym for that is? The retaliation law in LA. Your audio isn't working. You can't hear me? Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. You're an unincorporated LA County, so here's my opinion to you, not my advice, because I'm not an attorney. You can go to a tenant-based website. Yes, I said tenant-based website called stayhousedla.org. Got it? Stay, S-T-A-Y, housed, H-O-U-S-E-D, L-A, like Los Angeles, .org. For anything in LA County, this is a great tool for us as landlords because we know what the rules are based on the address. I'm just going to tell you how to get there. Go to stayhousedla.org. On the opening page, it says got an eviction notice, I think, or something about eviction. It says get started. And just to the right of where it says get started, it says the eviction process. I want you to click on the eviction process. And then there's a subtitle up top. It says how evictions work. And there's a whole bunch of questions, okay, on there. And the background is white. When the background changes color from white to this yellow-green blend, it says laws for your area. And right where that is where that color change is, okay? That's why I'm telling you to go look for the change of color. It's a white background and then it goes to yellow-green. When it goes to yellow-green, it says laws for your area, and you can actually type in your address and it will tell you what governs you, what your rules are, the laws you have to follow. So it's a great tool to have in your arsenal. Now, with that said, you got to be careful. You're in LA County, okay? If you can't agree for them to sign on a new rental contract, you still have an oral agreement and you still may have the capability, you still may have the capability of giving them a 30-day notice, a change of terms of tenancy, and including the disclosures that you're trying to disclose. In other words, you may not be able to get them to sign a new contract, but if there's a rule in there that you need to change, a 30-day notice of change of terms of tenancy is most likely the way to do it. But when you're in LA, you got to be cautious. So I'm going to tell you, contact your legal counsel and find out what rules you can change and what rules you can't so you don't get yourself in trouble with a retaliatory issue. Because let me tell you, all that stuff is saying retaliation is real in Los Angeles County and they can come after you. Oh yeah, I've seen notices that landlords have gotten where the city or the DCBA, LARSO, DCBA, or the municipality has sent them a letter saying they're subject to a $10,000 fine if they don't rescind what they did. Remember, you guys got to send copies to the city that governs you. That's how they know you do something wrong. Okay, so be very cautious. I would ask your legal counsel just because it's LA County and I'm not sitting in front of a computer where I can look that up. Okay? All right, you guys. Does anybody else have anything for me? Otherwise, I'm going to get off of here. I got a daughter with a dead car battery.
Have a good night, Patty. Thank you so much for everything.
No, thank you guys for joining me of an evening. And I'll try to do the evening meeting once a month for us that can't get away during the week. Okay?
Have a good night, Patty. Thanks. And you're looking great.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying. I'm working at it.
It's working.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Bye,
I
everybody.
hope your mouth is feeling better.
I still get stabbed every once in a while, but it's not too bad.
Okay. Take care. See you next week. Bye.
All right. See you guys next week.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Patty.
Bye. Bye, Annie.
Bye.
Bye.
Patty? Patty?
Yes. Yes.
Can I go to your office to look for you tomorrow?
Annie, I am going to call you. Give me a few minutes, okay?
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
going to call you tonight.
Yeah? Do you have my phone number?
I do.
Okay, okay. Okay. Okay, thank you.
I'll call you in a bit.
Okay. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.